We'll do in my memory Melukat in Chelik Daled. This is the 23rd Maimer. This is the second Maimer that Rebbe said that Shabbos, the Shabbos Parshas Eikev, of Menachemov in Tafshin Chov Zayin. It was later printed together with the first Maimer. It came out together in Chov Anakuntris, Chov Menachemov, Tafshin Mem Tes, as it says over there, in honor of the 20th of Menachem of the Histalkus Hilula of Rav Agon, Rav Chosid HaMukubel, Menin Levi Yitzchok Zal Shneirson, the father of the Rebbe Yibod L'chaim Tevim Chakad Mushlito. This was published, the date on the booklet that came out with these Maimorim, these two Maimorim, on Yom Rishon Parshas Re'ei Hei Tovshin Mem Tes. And the previous Maimer is printed before this one. We've learned that already. So now we'll do the Maimer Beis of Shabbos Parshas Eikev. And the Rebbe also makes a note that this Shabbos of Parshas Eikev, so the Rebbe says that that my name is Borchin Kuli Yemen. All right. What I was talking about is in Aore 1, the Rebbe makes a note that in the year the Maimer was published, of Menachemov was after the Shabbos Parshas Eikev. So the Parshas Eikev is the one that blesses the Shabbos beforehand. My name is Borchin, so the Shabbos Parshas, the Chof Ov, which came shortly after Parshas Eikev, and actually it came in B'toich Gimel Yomin, in Basar Shabbat, within 3 days of Shabbos, which is even closer to Shabbos. So that's the connection of the year of the publication of the Maimer. But of course, when the Rebbe said the Maimer in Tafshich Chav Zayin, Chof Menachemov was in Parshas Eikev. In any event, Shabbos Parshas Eikev, Chof Menachemov, this is Maimer Beis Hei Tafshich Chav Zayin. So here the Rebbe based himself on the pasuk in the parsha. It says, "Va'ata Yisrael mo havai lekecha shoyel me'imach ki im liyiro gomer." So now Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, Israel, the Jewish people, what is God asking of you? But to fear Him. The Rebbe will bring down the question and answer that it says in Tanya about what kind of a question is it, that this is only Hashem is asking to fear? Is this something so small? Hashem is saying, Mo Hashem Elokecha, what is He already asking of you? Doesn't seem to be a small thing. It's the question of the Gemara. And we have to understand the answer of the Gemara. And then also with the Pirush that the Maharsha says on the Gemara, that the Altikra Mo Elomeyo, and the main, what is Hashem? Not Mo, but Hashem asks Meya. The Rebbe is going to ask the different of these two Pirushim and the connection. They seem to be contradictory, as we'll see inside. So anyways, so the post pshat, what does God ask of you but to fear? So the Gemara asks, it's not understood this pasuk because otu yiro milsa zutrasahi, is fear something small that we're asking. All what God is asking of you is to fear Him. Fear Hashem doesn't seem to be such a small thing. So why are we saying, oh, this is all that Hashem is asking? So what does the Gemara answer on this question? In the truth of Gabi Moshe Milsa Zutra Sohi, that relative to Moshe Rabbeinu was saying this. Oh, what is already God asking for you to fear Him? So relative to Moshe, this was something very minor, something small. But of course, the question is that the Alter Rebbe asked in Tanya, so it's known the question and the Meforshim and the Tanya, Harishoyel Me'imach Kesiv, because the question, he says, what is Hashem asking? He's not Mo Hashem Elokecha. I'm not saying asking from Moshe. Saying from you. Who's you? Mikol Echad V'Echad MiYisrael. Every year the Eibishter says, what is Hashem already asking of you? But to fear Him. So what is the Gemara answer? Lagabe Moshe Milsa Zutrosihi. That next to Moshe, this is something small. But Moshe Rabbeinu was asking it Me'imach. Mo Hashem Elokecha Shoyel Me'imach. Asking from the Yin. Doesn't seem to be so small. How does that answer? As we'll see, as the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, the Rebbe will say later on that relative to the Moshe in each one, this becomes, which we have in ourselves, it becomes a milter seozutrusi. But gam tzarich lahavin. Also, we need to understand there's another drasha that we learn that we should say Mo Hashem Elikecha, Meyo Hashem Elikecha. Hashem asks us to make 100 brachas every day. So Mad Isa the Gemara says Chayiv Odom Levorich Meyo brachas b'chol yom. That a person is obligated to say make 100 brachas every day. Shenema, as the pasuk says, Va'ata Yisrael Mo Hashem Elikecha shoyel me'imach. So in this pasuk it says Ma Hashem Elokecha shoyel me'imach. So we say al tikri ma, don't read it as what, elameya but 100. So according to this, ma Hashem Elokecha shoyel me'imach, Hashem asks you 100. Why does the Gemara darshan like that? So the Marsha explains because we can't say it the other way because of the question. Because of Hamarsha. The Mashal writes that Tam al zeh shedarshu al tikra machulu. What is the reason the Gemara says don't say it as ma but meya? The reason is who kilifi pirush haposhut kosher, because according to the simple meaning, what Hashem asks of you, the Gemara's question, Oto yira milsa zutra, so he is then fear a small matter. So we can't, therefore, the Gemara says not to read it as ma, lochein darshu, al tikri ma elamei. That's why they expounded it to mean, don't read it as, what does Hashem ask from you, but say, Meya Hashem asks you for 100. Shadover zeh levorich meya brachas b'chol yom. This is something to make 100 brachas in every day. B'nekel la'odom l'kayim. This is easy for a person to fulfill. So it's not a problem anymore. So va'ata Yisrael mo. It's not what, but it's meya Hashem Elikecha shoyel me'imach. Hashem asks you to do the 100 brachas. This is something. And that will bring you liyira. That will bring the 100 brachas will bring you liyiras Hashem. What's the connection? Well, how do 100 brachas bring the person to yiras Hashem? Right, the Rebbe v'tzarich biur. So we need to explain this. Mahi hamayla the meya brachas. What is the advantage of 100 brachas? Shal yodam boyim liyiras Hamayeh. Through 100 brachas we come to fear Hashem. What's the connection? Why 100 brachas? The Gam Tzarich Lahavin, also we need to understand how to connect Ma with Meya. They seem to be in the same pasuk. One drasha is Ma what, and the other drasha, the way the Gemara says, is Meya is 100. So what's the connection of Ma and Meya? Tzarich Lahavin api hayedua. Based on what is known, that all the interpretation that are in the same pasuk have a connection to each other. What is the connection of Ma and Meya? As the Rebbe will explain later on, level of bit, level of keser, as we'll see. V'gam, another question is Ma shayches Dishnei Pirushim Hanal, what is the connection of these two interpretations? Here we're asking about the word ma and meya, what is the connection? But B'chlal, the connection of these two interpretations. The two interpretations, the way the Rebbe explains it in the Tanya, or the way the Gemara explains it, that it is Legabe Moshe Milsa Zutrusahi, so which means that why is it easy? Because Legabe Moshe it's something small, as the Gemara answers over there, and also with the other interpretation of the Gemara about Tikra Ma Elameya, that we call it Ma, but Meya, how do these two interpretations connect? Base. V'hinei hachiluk ben hapirush kipshute Ma lapirush hanidrash al pi halimud al tikrei Meya. So that we're going to say now, what's the difference, the way we learn literally that the meaning is Ma, and the meaning that the Marsha brings down that the Gemara brings down, that it is al tikra ma elameya. How is the difference in the psukim? And the Rebbe is going to ask that it seems to be that that the way we learn it, one from the other, is difficult. Let's look inside. The lapirush kipshute, according to the simple meaning, it follows. The verse has one sentence. ועתה ישראל mo Hashem אלקיך שואל מעמך לירא. All that Hashem is asking of you is to fear. So the ma is the beginning of the sentence. What already is Hashem asking you but to fear it? The lapirush kipshute, in the simple meaning, ma koi al yira. Ma goes on the yira. What is already asking? What is already Hashem asking but to fear Him? The kol masha Hashem elekecha shoyel me'imach yira savaya. All that Hashem is asking for you is to fear Him. So the ma references the yira. But la pirush nidrash. But according to the pirush that we expound, that it means meya. So we have two parts of the pasuk. Ma meya, hu inyan la'atzmei. This is a subject by itself. Va'ata Yisrael mo Hashem elekecha shoyel me'imach. Now Israel, 100 is what Hashem is asking of you. That's one thing. Now when you do the 100, then the 100 brachas, then you'll come to Yira. This is what is Hashem asking you is ma, which is mei brachas. Ella, pasuk says, you will come lira savaya. Ki'im lira savaya is not part of the ma. The ma, the meyo, that's the Eibishter asks of you. When you do that, you'll get lira savaya. That's according to the drash. And then there's another difference between these two interpretations. The word loshin ma, you say already what? When you say ma, means you're minimizing. You're saying very little. The word meyo is the full number. So the loshin ma moidesha inyan hamedubar hudavar. When you say ma, that points to the fact that what you're talking about is something small. What? No big deal. Small. Ma, what already? Ubashen HaGemara, as the Gemara uses, milsa sutrasa, it's a small thing. Umeya, but on the other hand, when you say meya, umispargodl, meya is a big number. Va'ad l'shleimus hamispar. This is actually the wholesome number is 100. Because you see, the Be'oisius, when you come to the letters that correspond to the numbers, you don't have anything above 100. You have Kuf, Reishin, Tav, 1, 2, 3, 4, but there's only 100. There's nothing more. There's no number representing anything higher. So that is the highest number. The ba'oisius mispar achi gadol hu meyos. The highest number is hundreds. So the 100 is the ultimate wholesomeness, the greatest number. Ma, without the aleph, is the smallest number. So, obefrat, lefi hamavur b'chsidis, the number May is a wholesome number, as we find in the letters, but especially as explained in Chassidus, the zeh shenitoyse b'meya alma hu ois aleph. That which is added to the word, in the word meya over the word ma, what's the difference? There's a one aleph. Ma doesn't have an aleph. Meya has an aleph in there. Who is aleph? What is aleph? Aleph is the letter ois pella, which the letter aleph represents oir hasoivev shalamayla mishtalshlus. Wonder is, which means goes beyond the evolution, the orderly level. But we're talking about now a light which is surrounding, which is Pella. So Meya has the Shleimus, and Meya has in itself the level of higher than Hishtalshlus. B'tzorich lahavin. Okay, so again, the one difference is that Ma in the first pshat goes on the liyira, and according to the second pshat, there's two separate sentences. Eibishter asks for Meya, and that'll bring you liyira. And the other chilik is Ma, according to the Pashto pshat and pasuk, means what? Something small. According to the Meya, that's something very big. It's the whole biggest number, and also it has the level aleph, which is the level of higher, or level of keser higher than ishtalshlus. So, therefore, v'tzorich lahav. So we have to understand the l'chayre shnei chilukim elu shnei bein shnei hapirushim. These two differences that we have between these two pirushim, hem hafchi, they're opposite. Why? The mezeh shehameya brachas hem hagdama liyira, because the 100 brachas are an introduction to yira, which means it's not we're asking you for yira, not Moshe Makir Shalom Bilkim liyira. We're saying you say the meya brachas, and the meya brachas will bring you yira. So that means that the 100 brachas are an introduction how to get the yira. Move on. So we understand Sha'ira he l'maylo mehem. The yira is higher than that. So how do you get to this yira, which is higher than the meya brachas? Because through the meya brachas you'll get liyira. So how do you get there? So you're saying ba'afal pikein hachiyuv the meya brachas. So how do we know that you have to make these 100 brachas, this highest level, the level of yira, to reach yira? Nilmad mehadrash al tikra ma elameya. So how do we learn it out? Don't pronounce it ma but meya. That gives you the to get to the highest level, which means the meya brachas is the highest level. Why? Because it is a hagdama, and still we learn it from the drasha al tikri ma elomeya. Ubanegei liyira ksiv ma shoyel meimach. And when we talk about yira itself, this is the hagdama of yira. We come to through the level of meya, al tikri ma elomeya. So to even get to the introduction for yira, we need meya. And how do we get yira itself? So for yira itself, we're saying, oh, no big deal. But to get to the introduction of Yira, because through the Me'ah brachas you'll get Yira. Over there you need Me'ah, you need 100 brachas, Al Tikra Ma'al Me'ah. So it seems like these two interpretations the two differences seems to conflict with what their accomplishment. It seems like to accomplish something less than Yira, which is the Hakdam of Yira, you need Me'ah brachas. And to accomplish not that's you need Me'ah brachas to accomplish the Yira. That's the introduction to Yira. You need 100. And on the other hand, we're saying that Ma Hashem Elkecha Shem Yira, to accomplish, to get Yira, over there you only need Ma. You don't need no Me'ah. The Ma itself brings you to the Yira. So how do we reconcile that? The lower Madrega of Ma seemingly is enough to get Yira itself. And in order to get the introduction to Yira, we need Me'ah, we need 100. That's what the Rebbe is asking you here. Gimel. So the Rebbe is going to bring down now from the Tzemach Tzedek that when it says Mo Hashem Elekecha Shoel Me'imach, means Hashem asks us for Ma. Hashem asks us for bittul. V'ata Mo Hashem Elekecha Shoel Me'imach. The Eibishter asks us to provide bittul. V'hinei mevuah b'drushat Tzemach Tzedek b'pirush hakosuv Mo Havai Elekecha Shoel Me'imach. The Mahu bittul. There it says Ma is bittul. Kimoi, like we say, Menachnu Mo. Moshe Rabbeinu says we are Ma. That's the level of bittul. V'hu habittul atzmi shelamaylam haseichel shemitzad etzem haneshama. That level of bittul is a essence bittul, which is beyond the intellect, but it comes because of the essence of the neshama. It's a bittul. We don't understand it. It's not come down to the level of understanding. The essence of neshama has that level of bittul. So what does it mean? Upirush mo havai lekecha shoel me'imach. That Hashem Elkecha is asking from you. You have the bittul be'etzem. Hashem is asking that bittul that you have be'etzem should come out begilui. Upirush mo havai lekecha shoel me'imachu. Sha'havai lekecha shoel me'imach habittul dema. That the Eibush that asks of you, Va'ata ma, the level of bittul of ma, that bittul atzmi, that is what Hashem is asking of you. What does it mean Hashem is asking? Well, we just said that this is mitzad etzem haneshama. Every yid has that etzem haneshama. Asking for that to come out begidli. Dezeh shabitul dema yesh b'kol echad v'echad mi Yisrael mitzad etzem haneshama. The fact that there is a bittul of ma that each yid has because of the etzem in his soul, hu b'hela. That's it. It's not open. We got to bring it out to the open. Now, why is that not open? It's not because something is blocking it, that the Nefesh HaBahamis. It's not open because be'esem, it's a bittul atzmi, which is not in the level of his galus. Be'helim Zed Rebbe explains, it is not just because the animal's soul blocks and obscures this bittul, but in essence it's hidden because it's higher than revelation. So what is the Eibishter asking us? What is Hashem asking from us, from each yid? That his ma should be revealed. To reveal that ma should come out begilui. And this is what the pasuk continues. Lira Savaya explains the Tzemach Tzedek. Kishoresh habitl the yira, because the root of bitl of yira the fear, Yiras Hashem, is the root of the bittul of Yira, that the Yira is bittul, comes Gam the Yira Tator. Even the lower level of Yira, which is Yiras Chet, Yiras Einish, the lower levels, all the levels of Yira, even the lower level, who have bittul atzmishem etzad etzem haneshama bittul dema. It's really the essence bittul, that is because the essence of the neshama. So, if we want to be liyiras Hashem, to fear Hashem, we have to have that level of bittul, that level of yira. We have to bring out that level of yira of the etzem to come out into the open. And the Rebbe explains now that by Ava comes from the Giluyim. This comes from the Etzem. We said that the Yira needs the Bittul Atzmi, the Chilik with the Yira and Ava. The Ava liyesem mitzias shorshahu v'giluyim neshama. Ava, because it is a entity, so it's rooted in the revealed part of the neshama, not in the Etzem of the neshama. V'yira liyesem bittul shorshahu b'etzem neshama. Yira, because it's self negation, it's bittul, it's in the etzem of the neshama. So you need that bittul atzmi, you need that yira, in order that the revelation, the mo Hashem Elekecha shoyel me'imach, you need it even for the yira tato, as opposed to Ava. Ava doesn't necessarily require that great level of bittul. That level of bittul is required for Yira. Zeu mashitshu begamara otu Yira milsa zutrasahi. And that's what the Gemara asks, is then Yira, because even for the observance of mitzvahs, which is what we're talking about over here, you still need to be ma'ayir the etzem haneshama. The Gemara says, "Atu yira milsa zutrasahi, av shahayira shebeposik zeh, hi hayira mevi likima mitzvahs." We're not talking about a higher level of yira. We're talking about a yira, a fear Hashem that leads you to doing the mitzvahs. So enough fear of Hashem to do the mitzvahs. And still, the Gemara argues, is it then a small thing? We're not talking about a higher level of yira. Why is the Gemara arguing? Why is the Gemara saying, is then fear a small thing? The Rebbe is explaining that even for yira tato, you need the giluv me'etzem hanefesh, the level of bittul, the bittul atzmi. Because the Gemara asks, even on this lower level of yira tato, ought to yira milsa zutrusi. Also, we're only talking about the level of yira, which brings to observance of mitzvahs, because that's what the pasuk says clearly. To fear Hashem your God, to go in His ways, which means a yira for kima mitzvahs. And if we're talking about the equivalent in Abba for kima mitzvahs is not such a big deal, because that can come through his oneness meditation. As it pertains to love, which brings to observance of mitzvahs, so over there in Taitz explains, that's easy for every person. So it's not, wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be a yirsu, is not. It's because everybody can easily reach the level of Ava, which brings him to Kima Mitzvahs. As opposed to Yirmekivon Shehi Bo Mahabitl the Etzaman Neshama. Shalamayla Maseichel, Yira comes from the bitl of the essence of the Neshama, which is high in Seichel. So that cannot be reached through reflection, through meditation. Or it says, is then it a small thing? What is Hashem asking? Only Yira, but that's not a small thing, because you need the bittul of the Etzem Neshama to bring you to that, even that letter of Yira. So in order to reveal that level of Mad, the little Atzim, the Neshama, Shirish Ha'ira, who alidein nesinas koyach milmaylo. That is, we're given power from above. Hamshocha milmaylo mehishtalshelus. This is extends to us. Hashem gives it to us from above ishtalshelus. The person's service does not reach there. He can't bring down that level of yira. Unlike by Abba, which he can bring it down. The yira can't bring it down. Oh, so now, how do we get down? How do we get to the yira? We got to bring it down from the level of Keser, higher than Ishtalshlus. That's, here comes in the Meya Brachas, because the number of Meya is in Keser. And that is why through 100 brachas we come to the level of Yira. Because 100 is in Keser. And when we have the 100 brachas, especially when we have the blessing of the mitzvahs, in which we are mamshich v'amshochas ruso de le'elo she'ein isaruso de l'tato magaz l'sham. Then we draw down isaruso de le'elo, where our isaruso de l'tato cannot reach there. It comes in the sinas koyach milmayla. Our work below does not reach there, but it comes from above through the Meya Brachas. Sha'idei brachas the hamshachas, we're mamshich through the 100 brachas from Keser Meya. Sha'idei hamshachas zu nisgala hamadan neshama. That way, when we draw this down, this reveals the mavdan neshama. Al tikri ma elameyo. So that the ma, that which is hidden, the neshama has the little atzmi, but it's ma, it's hidden. That ma is meya. It reveals it through the meya. Tikri ma meya, through the meya brachas brings out the ma, the hidden level, the little atzmi. And that way we come to the yira, because through the hamshacham el mailo, we come to the level of yira. So now we also understand what the Gemara says, Nagabe Moshe Milsa Zutrusi. That relative to Moshe, it's a small thing, but we're asking it from every yid. What it means is Ki Hamshachas Sarusa del Elo She'ein Sarusa del Tata Magas L'Shom. How do we draw down that level of Sarusa Leila, which the Sarusa Tata cannot reach there? That is mainly through Moshe. As it's known, Torah, that Torah which is Torah's Moshe, that's the level of Torah. That's Moshe. Torah is Moshe. He is Sarusa de la Elo Shalamayla Bisarusa de la Tato. Torah brings down a level of Sarusa de la Elo, which is higher than Sarusa de la Tato. Tefillah, mitzvahs bring around from Isarusa del Tata, the Isarusa del Leila. Here it comes Milmaila. And that's why it's Moshe Rabbeinu, which means through Torah we are able to be mamshich, the higher level, the level of the Etzem HaNeshama, the Ma of the Neshama, through the Meyo. And that it becomes a Milsa Zutrusihi, because through Moshe Rabbeinu, Torah's Moshe, we bring down that level which is higher than the Isarusa del Tata that reaches there, but on a higher level of Sarusa Delay. And so we have 100 brachas, but the Rebbe added here that it comes through Moshe. And the Rebbe says there is an advantage to the Moshe, Toinas Moshe, that is higher than Hishtalshlus, than the Meya Brachas. Yes, Lahaisiv. We can add to this. Yes, Yisrael. There is an advantage to the Sarusa de Le'ela, which takes place, that comes through Moshe Rabbeinu, that is even higher. That is even higher. That's higher than the level that comes through the Meya Brachas. Sheyesh Yisrael b'amshocha Sarusa de Le'ela sha'idei Moshe Torah, the guy b'amshocha sha'idei Meya Brachas. Why? Ki Torah hi b'chinas pnimis. Torah is in an inner. Seroscha b'sechmei is inside. L'chein gam hamshochas es arusa de la'ela shal yidei Torah. Also, that when we draw down this arusa de la'ela, that's through Torah versus through the Meya Brachas. In nimsheches b'pnimius, that comes down in an inner pnimius. Bedugmas is arusa de le'ela shenimshach de aveda. Just like is arusa de le'ela that comes through aveda, that comes in a pnimi is arusa de tata. So here, even though this comes milmailo, but it comes down into a pnimi is similar to as if it had been brought down through aveda, which brings down pnimis. The lachein gam hayira shenimshachas al yidei zeh. Also, the yira that comes down through the level of Torah, that's a more inner feeling, more than just the feeling of yira that we get through the Meya Brachas.